Hello and welcome to the Business Pulse International channel. On this our segment called Leading Edge, where we bring you the stories from top executives in South Africa and established business people who share with us their personal stories and journeys on the strategies that they've applied that have made them successful and keep them successful. My name is Dominic Gaubebe. Our guest today is a maverick. He's a serial entrepreneur and also the developer of the Fourways Community Chamber of Commerce. Now, Trevor lived on the beach until the age of 24 and soon realized that he had to take life a little bit more serious if he was to keep his wife. His early career was in sales and he did very well within the pharmaceutical industry. Over the years, he grew as an entrepreneur as well as a professional. And some of his career highlights include having established the Academy of Learning, which was established to give school leavers business basics, and that academy was later sold to a listed company. He also was instrumental in the establishment of the Inner Circle, which is one of South Africa's biggest business networks. Apart from that, he is an author of the book called Confessions of a Serial Entrepreneur. Trevor Nel, welcome.
Hi, Dominic. Thank you.
I think to kick us off, I'm very interested in your story, from beach bum to now established entrepreneur and a man that's really shaping industries. Can you give us a bit of history about yourself insofar as where did you begin? Why did you begin doing the things that you do?
Well, it took me a couple of years to get out of matric, so that was my first problem. And that's
by a couple of years, do we mean like 18, 20, or you like?
It took me 2 years.
So you really embellished it.
Yes, correct. Yes, yeah. And but that's what makes a good salesman, you see. And from there, I obviously had to find myself. And I found myself on the beach for quite a while. I enjoyed paddle surfing. I was a lifesaver on the beach, and I was just trying to get pocket money in. And then I bumped into my wife, as you mentioned, and she changed my life completely and said, listen, there are other boys here with a lot more money. And so I had to take life seriously, and I had nothing behind me. So I first of all got into selling of property, and I very quickly saw that I could sell property, and I sold up set up my own real estate agency. It was quite simple to do, and then times got tight for that business, and someone offered me a job in the pharmaceutical industry, and I found that I could sell to high-level professionals, cardiovascular drugs and these sort of things, and I made a lot of money out of that. And then I wanted to know what to do with the money, and that was to invest in the stock exchange.
Absolutely, because generating the cash flow is one thing, but how do you keep it and grow it?
Exactly.
Is another reality.
So I discovered that not too many people down in Durban knew too much about the stock exchange, and so I came up to Joburg, and in my travels up here, I found a company that was teaching people how to invest in shares, and they were about 6 weeks old, and said no one down in Natal would be interested in shares. So I said, well, give me your product, I'll go down there. And I sold twice as much product
as what they were selling
in 2 weeks as a startup operation. So I realized I could do something with this, and I took the rights to Natal. Cut a long story short, about 18 months later, I sold that out. Companies up here in Joburg heard what I was doing down in Durban, and they wanted my client basis, and they wanted me up here. So I came up here to the Indaba Hotel, just opened up.
Indaba, yes.
Shorts, slops, beach boy, presenting to a whole group of directors, and they offered me management control of an education
about stocks.
College. That
must have been one brilliant sales pitch.
Teaching people how to invest in shares. Well, how much do you know about stocks? No, we know nothing, but you want to get involved in it. And what are the risks? And these folk had put a fantastic theoretical program together, which allowed people to then start practicing without investing their money. And it was at the stage of new computerization, so you could actually play a dummy stock portfolio.
Yeah, because the simulation is important, because it gives that experiential kind of learning without actually risking actual money.
That didn't exist then. Okay, so it was the first time. And
which year was this, by the way, if I can ask?
Probably, in fact, you know what, I opened that business in 1985, 3 days before the Rubicon speech, which closed the stock exchange for 3 days. How's that for a new startup?
Yeah, that's rough.
That's how I remember that. And I remember phoning the guy who set this up and said, my goodness, I've just done this. I'd then given up the pharmaceutical career to actually do this, and the stock exchange was closed.
Sure.
So how do you then, as an entrepreneur, start working through that? And of of course, all things in crisis change. And,
no, definitely. And since then, in your your earlier career, what are the things that you'd consider to be your highlights, or the things that make you tick right now? If I was to ask Trevor, what does Trevor do at the moment?
You know, what makes me tick? I think what drives me in projects is that setting up businesses, you have to be energetic, you have to have enthusiasm, you have to have passion for what you're doing. And I think from those times, from 24 years of age all the way through to now, 62 years of age, that's been what's been me. If I get involved in, first of all, I must be interested in it.
Yes.
Okay, so to get involved in a business, you must know I do a serious amount of background research just to see whether I can actually succeed from day one.
Absolutely.
So energy, enthusiasm, passion is what I think people would say I bring to setting up a business or starting a business.
So you've newly established the Fourways Community Chamber of Commerce. Can you just give us some insights insofar as what has driven that and what's the purpose behind it?
Well, you know, I've been a 30-year resident in Lone Hill, which is really part of Fourways, and I've watched Fourways grow from really a corner cafe into what it is today.
Sure.
This is, without a shadow of doubt, the fastest growing business.
It's an economic hub.
Absolutely,
in a big way.
For the future.
Yes.
And having set up the Lone Hill Security Initiative and Community Initiative from nothing back in the year 2000, I started thinking about what we could do in the community with businesses and community, bringing the two together. And someone bumped into me at the gym because I spend a lot of time swimming at the gym, spare time.
So and you haven't gotten rid of your beach ball yet?
No, I haven't, because I do my swimming every day. And that individual turned around and asked me, well, what do you do? And I was just annoyed he was in my lane. And so I asked him, well, what do you want? And it turned out the individual owned a share in a co-op bank, or a project that is leading to a co-op bank, and also a conference center. So we decided to meet over a cup of coffee, and that turned into a meeting of minds. How could we use some of the spare capacity in his conference facility? And he wanted to grow more and more people come into his operation.
Yes.
One of my operations called Wisdoms, I have a CEO who wanted a conference venue to get. So we put them together. And out of that, we said, well, how do we get people in here? What do we offer? So we started looking around. What do people need? And what people needed here in a big way was business support. The biggest problem entrepreneurs have is that they're lonely. And so we said, well, look, we were all a bunch of old guys, and there were a couple of middle-aged guys, none as young as you. And we said, well, let's all bring them together, and I did. I brought them together in one room, middle of November. And out of that, the idea came out, let's form a chamber of commerce of sorts.
Within the community.
Exactly. And one of the individuals, in fact, the co-op banker, had an operation registered called Community Chamber of Commerce, and we tagged that on Fourways Community Chamber of Commerce, bringing business and community together, and it makes sense. Who are your consumers as business? Well, all the households in and around the greater Fourways area. And how many businesses here are in need of support, or want support, or want to enter into joint ventures, strategic alliances? How many want to tap into those consumers?
And the thing is, what you've been talking about and how the chamber was formed also speaks of collaboration that created mutual value between businesses.
You know, it's the perfect underlying word for where we have to go in business today. Today, to me, it's no longer about competition, because other things are going to be taking you out. If you are not collaborating with your competition or co-opetition, or finding ways to actually work together to work with the same consumer out in the marketplace, I think you're in trouble today.
No, certainly. So with these businesses then forming part or wanting to get into the Fourways Community Chamber of Commerce, what kind of support do you envisage they'll be able to access, and that will be able to benefit, sustain, and perhaps even grow their business operations?
To answer that, let me give you the challenge we set for ourselves. We said, first of all, we want to actually interact with people who are of like-minded, abundance thinking mentality, that things should not be a problem. If they're a problem, there should be someone in the room that has a solution for that. So we wanted to interact with, of all the businesses around here, well over 10,000 businesses in our target area. Our target for 2017 is to get 1,000 like-minded businesses who are doing the type of things that we're doing. So what do? Every day between 9:30 to 11 o'clock, we put a coffee club meeting together. And in the time that we've been operating, we've been inundated, 10 to 20 entrepreneurs like ourselves with significant businesses who are exchanging ideas and opportunities. We have from startup entrepreneurs to potential listings that have come out of the woodwork already in the early stage of 2017. Okay, and when you have 1,000 operators, I mean, we've been through a few hundred at the moment. When you have 1,000 who understand that game, you've got plenty of opportunity. To back that up, every Saturday we put a workshop together. That workshop, one of my operations, Wisdoms, which is about life skills and business mastery development, is the sponsor behind support. So we do a 3-workshop session for all businesses and the public. And by the way, we sponsor new startup entrepreneurs because we've got to kickstart communities into establishing their own businesses. We put them through 3 sessions, which is about attitude, in other words, your mind and getting the mind right, which is about business skills to business maturity. And then we actually strip an actual business. So we look for brave entrepreneurs.
Willing to open that up.
Exactly. Who turn around and say, you know what, I'm willing to throw it in here. Let's put it out at this group. And we get a group interaction. We strip it down and we rebuild it up and we look to see how we can double to triple their revenue out of that particular project.
Fantastic.
Exciting stuff.
Absolutely. So given your personal experiences and your personal journey within business, I'd like to get your views regarding the opportunities that you believe exist in South Africa as a whole within this world of business or for businesses.
Are you talking to the wrong person? Because I see a world of unlimited opportunities. And when you see the number of people that we do, I mean, my inner circle business network, over 20,000 independent business operators through that. There is no problem at all with the quality of individual that we have going into business. What I think we have a problem with, and listen, the one thing that we can't control is silly decisions that are taken by macro decision makers that can affect you. For instance, the Rubicon speech that took me out.
But you need to somehow balance those things and still be able to respond.
Exactly. But what you need to have is you need to have people that have experience and know these sort of things to calm down perhaps those that are youthful and getting into business. You need to bring those two together so that you can have a calming influence. But in terms of where's the future, unlimited opportunity. There is absolutely no doubt the people that we have can carry a business off anywhere in the world. Okay, they just need to know the right approach. And the type of approaches that we are warning about here is don't throw money after projects. Don't think money is actually going to grow your project. The quickest way to a small fortune, is to put a big fortune in behind it. Okay, and so some of the things that we actually share with individuals is, listen, if you're not prepared to actually go in and test your product or your concept or your service to see if people want it or need it. Don't throw money after it because you're not going to have a sustainable business. It might look as though it's sustainable for a little while, 6 months to 12 months, but I can tell you, if you put in your family first and you decide to hock your house on home to fund your business, you're going to lose your family like that. You've got to be very careful about how you approach business.
Because even as you operate, there's still the needs on a month-to-month basis.
Exactly. And I must tell you, though, that what you're touching on is every day we see 10 to 20 different types of entrepreneurs, all genders, colors, races, creeds, just come in with different ideas, different views, different opinions. I mean, around the table, it's not for the weak and faint of heart, okay? Because you'll get someone say you're talking rubbish, which is fantastic, because you can test your concepts out there, and you can test it with people who have done things, and an individual can turn around and say, hey, but I did that yesterday, I'll show you a quicker way to do it today.
Awesome.
Okay, so that's the benefit of that. But the quality of individual is phenomenal.
Yeah. No, certainly. Because I often say that in South Africa, there may be a shortage of jobs, but there isn't a shortage of opportunity. If people have the ideas and know how to translate those ideas into something tangible that delivers value, there's more than enough money for people to access.
Even that statement for entrepreneurs, we've got a shortage of jobs, but we've got the right quality of people with entrepreneurs. So what's missing? I think you've highlighted exactly what our challenge is in this country, that perhaps only these people can sort out, and we can't start leaving it to other people to actually sort out. We've got to do it the way we are doing it right now. And in fact, that's what drives us at the Chamber at the moment.
No, fantastic. So let's get you away from the day-to-day, and let's have a look more towards the future. So you've had a great illustrious history of successful businesses that you've been able to build. And I'm pretty certain, being an entrepreneur myself, that there have been massive failures in between. And possibly even more than the successes that happen within business. When you look ahead in the future, and I'm speaking here now specifically for entrepreneurs, what do you see insofar as what does the future bring, and what's the kind of entrepreneur that will be able to create opportunities out there, be able to survive out there, and not only survive, but really do well for themselves?
The mindset that is prepared for failure. Okay, because if you're not prepared to fail, and fail very quickly, and get up very quickly and test the next concept, you're not going to make it in this world. Okay, because I think in the next 5 to 10 years, 15, 20 years, we're not even going to know what's going to be the next $1 billion success. We haven't got a clue. And there's some guy sitting in India, some guy sitting in China, in a little rural community right now that's playing around on a little smartphone, that's developing an app that's going to put you and I out of business in 24 hours. We just don't know who's coming. Okay. So you've got to be excited about this world right now. The fact that someone can be doing that means that I can get into business even at 62 years of age. So I'm sitting here trying to extend my lifetime for the next 60 years.
And excited about it.
Exactly, because it is so exciting. But you're going to have to know there's certain basics about business. You are not going to make money in business if you haven't got a product or a service that your customer or your target customer wants or need. And if you don't put it together at an excellent price that attracts that money from them, you're not in business. So they're old heads like ourselves know that there's certain basics of business that never change. Okay, you better be bringing more money in than you're actually paying out in your business. Finish and clear. You've got to go home to your wife. It's very important to me. Okay, so you better go home with a little bit more money in your back pocket than you're actually paying out, and don't lose your home in the process, because you're going to be in big trouble. Which is important.
Absolutely. So I think as a parting shot, you've mentioned about these principles of business that really they never change. So no matter how disruptive our economy gets, no matter how much the rate of change we experience, but we have these principles that always carry and will stay true in order to adapt. I think, just to summarize, can you just share briefly some of those principles with us?
Well, some of the principles that we share with folks: don't talk your house and home. That's number one. Okay. If you've got an idea and you've got a job, please keep your job and test your idea over the weekend.
Make sure it works.
So that you've got the privilege, because that really is a privilege of having money to come in. But don't let that stop your entrepreneurial drive. Okay. If you can then test that little idea or that little concept is actually making money for you, then start working with a group of. Come along to the Fourways community. Have a free cup of coffee with us. Talk to a couple of wise heads. See if they're excited. Let me tell you, if they turn around and say, "Hey, listen, I want you, and I want a slice of your business," share a slice with them, because 100% of nothing is absolutely nothing, but 50% of a big enterprise where some other people are doing a lot of back can make you a lot of money. Okay, so you start with that initiative, then you sell that off, as I've done, then you start another one and another one and another. That's what's exciting. What are the other things? One thing that we share with folks, people get too complex about business ideas, and quite simply, and I learned this from my pharmaceutical days.
Yes.
When I got into it, there were specialists doing 14 years of study, and here was this brash young guy who had done about a day and a half learning a script, who was starting to share with them. But in actual fact, they needed the information, the 1, 2, 3 simple things to actually back up their 14 years of knowledge to actually have that operation work. So it came to me at that stage that in almost everything in life, there are 1, 2, 3 little basic things. You don't make the simple complex. Okay, simplify, simplify, simplify.
Sure.
And if people have that approach to their business, take your 50-page business plan that the bank wants and simplify it down to 1 page. And then if you can't memorize that in the next 30 seconds,
yes,
don't get into business. Okay, so
certainly
those sort of things.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Trevor. I think that's been very insightful, especially for the people that will have access to this content. So with that, I think as a parting shot, there's 3 things that I take away from this. As an entrepreneur, number 1, you must be willing to learn. And don't be precious with the ideas that you have, but be open that other people can give you an input that can enable you to grow. Number 2, collaboration is key. Collaboration is the way of the future if we want our businesses not only to survive, but to be able to thrive. If we collaborate with other people, we're able to draw from their strengths that can enable our businesses to be able to do well. So you must always ensure that you can be coached and you can be taught. Because if we're not learning, we're dying. If we're not learning, we are not growing. And if we're not growing and adding any value, we'll inadvertently be cut right off in what it is that we're trying to do. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's been our segment on Leading Edge. And we hope for you to join us next time as we interview more business people, more top executives that are giving us their principles, and this is things that they're sharing from their experience. This is not theory, and I promise you it will set you well. See you next time.